Thunderbird's helping us with a little techno stuff. We'll just get you started. We have a lot of great things in our community, a lot. And you people are the essence, the central part of being a lot of good stuff. But we also have some stuff that's not so good, stuff that you're being exposed to at younger and younger ages. And that's a great concern to us in school, it's a great concern to your families, it's a great concern to you guys. So we're very fortunate today to have a presenter. The younger students, you saw him last year, high school students did not see him last year. He spoke 2 nights ago, Wednesday night, in this auditorium. We did a community forum, and we had over 120 parents and community members come in this auditorium to hear him. The feedback that we got yesterday was phenomenal. Mr. Durr is filming again today. It's going to be on our school website. abay.com posted it. They sent it up to News Junkie. It's on News Junkie. So you can see what happened here Wednesday night. You can also see what's going to happen right now. And following this, we have the 4th, 5th, and 6th graders. His presentation will be a little bit different, a little more toned down for them. But these are available for you to see. So encourage your family, your friends, people to watch them if they're not here today. So in the last 2.5 months, we've had 3 of our recent graduates OD in our community. Thank God, all 3 are alive. One as recently as 48 hours ago. We're still hanging on, waiting to hear how things are there. He was home yesterday, but I got an early morning message from one of his family members that I've not been able to reach, so I don't know. It is here, it's a problem, and you need to be aware. I'd like to introduce Investigator Officer Boyce, New York State Police, CNET team, Community Narcotics, and he's here to spend your next hour with you.
I got an hour on the clock, and we're going to talk about a lot of things. So we're figuring about 8:35? 9:30. All right, my name is Officer Boyce. I'm an investigator with the New York State Police. And it's always fun to come to talk to the upperclassmen in high school. It's always fun to talk to upperclassmen because at this point in your lives, y'all think y'all know everything. Think you're smarter than your parents, out-trick the police, out-fool your teachers and your counselors. I know that because I have a son who was at your age at one point. He's off into college now, doing well, thankfully. I also coach basketball, so I know how some of you students think. And I know there's somebody out there going, yeah, right. I know somebody out there thinking, whatever, mister, just hurry up and get out of here. But the bottom line is I'm starting this presentation off with some real stuff. The real stuff is these are individuals that use meth. Methamphetamine is probably one of the most fastest growing drug being used in the North Country. Heroin by far is up front, and that's what we're going to talk about first. But I want you to see these pictures because I want you to see how people look when they use meth. Some people out there smiling and laughing and think it's a joke. Serious health issues. These are real people, real life, and basically they did it. They took a chance and took a drug one time, got hooked, and this is where their lives ended up. And because you're school administration, they don't want any of you in this room to fall on the path of these individuals. So that's why I'm here. So we're going to talk about heroin, mainly. We'll talk about meth. And then we'll talk about anything you want to ask me a question about as far as being a law enforcement and using drugs. But I'm here to tell you, don't do drugs. And everyone says it. So I'm going to show you some pictures. I'm going to give you some real life situations with individuals that basically lost control of their lives on simple situations like playing football and getting hurt, playing basketball and getting hurt, being a little overweight and wanting to be in with their peers, so they try to lose weight. Because they're trying to lose weight, they have operations and subsequently get on some type of pill or drug and get hooked to that drug. And then it goes from one stage to the next. I'm going to show you some videos that's going to show how it advances from being hurt, something that can happen to anyone, to going into a situation where you end up using from prescription drugs, sliding into heroin, sliding into selling drugs, and then subsequently possibly moving into doing things like criminal activity. Because where there's drugs, there's criminal activity, because you can't afford it. How many people have a job right now that pays them $10 an hour? My students, $10? Okay, so that's, raise your hand, $10, up. Higher. So out of all the students in here, we have maybe 5. $12 an hour? $13 an hour? Weed him out real quick. We have one that make $13 an hour. So reality is $13 an hour at 10 hours a week, you got $130. Federal government with their money, we make like $99. You can't sustain a habit of heroin that goes from $10 a day to $20 a day. By the end of the week, all that money will be gone. So that's what we're going to talk about. If you have questions, ask. Because the questions you ask are probably going to be the same question somebody else sitting next to you will ask, but won't raise their hand. I need everybody stand up. All the students stand up. Please stand up too. Wake up. If you had a friend who was out on a raft, and the raft was going down the river, and it was floating down the river, you had this long rope, and your friend is going down the river saying, help me, help me, help me. And you can see him, and he's floating, or she's floating along, and you have your rope. Everyone that would throw that rope to that friend to save their life, sit down. Okay, that's everybody. The thing I find odd is, though, if I did that scenario all over again, everyone would sit down, but if I said to you, if you had that friend that you knew every day was floating down that river, and he was floating, or she was floating left to right, was floating down that river on drugs, how many of you would say something to their parent, to the counselor? How many of you would go out on a limb to save that friend's life, who's basically in the same situation as the other friend that would be going down the river on the raft? And all that friend who's on drugs needs you to do is throw him a lifeline. But because of peer pressure, because of friendships, and not want to tell their mom, and not want to be mad at you, you don't tell. You know, stitches, you know, get stitches, and stitches is bad. If it comes down to saving your friend's life, tell anonymously. Send the mom a letter. Type it. If you got distinct handwriting, type it and send it to the parent. Hey, I just want you to know, John is using marijuana, the gateway drug. Marijuana is the thing that always starts everyone off. So they said, depending where you're at. The mentality is it's only marijuana. No. Starts with marijuana and moves off to the next thing. It's just like practicing. Any athletes in here? Basketball players, football players, baseball players? You practice like 5 days a week. If you're really good, 365 days a year, to make sure your game is at the top of its level. When you think about your friends that are doing drugs, think about it in the same manner. Using marijuana is practicing to go to the next level. Going from the 7th, 8th grade team, that was good enough now, but I have to advance. So they advance to the 9th and 10th grade team that might be something like marijuana, going to heroin, LSD, or something different. Whew, that wasn't good enough, so I'm practicing. I'm going to slide up to the next drug. Don't let your friends, family members, older brothers, sisters advance. Throw them a lifeline. And if you can remember that, really my lecture is pretty much over. You have to help each other out. If you don't help each other out, what'll happen is it will affect you. If you sit there and say, John's doing drugs and it's not going to affect me. Well, if John does drugs and he lives 2 houses down, John's going to need money for his drugs at some point. And the chances are he's not or she's not going to venture off to some stranger's house to steal. They know where he or she knows what all your good stuff is because they've been in your house 4 or 5 times. Slept over. They know where your mother's good jewelry is because if your mom wasn't looking, y'all snuck in there and started playing with it. Putting it on. Oh, y'all don't do that no more? There you go. I catch my son in my closet looking at my clothes all the time. So I know kids do it. All right, children see. Now this video here is just a simple message. If you do it, and your younger brother or sister sees you doing it, they will do the same thing. If your parents do it and you see them doing it, chances are you may do the same thing or try to do the same thing. You have to know when it's time to stop. So, let's see if I get this to work. A little volume. Here we go.
Looks like rain again today. Dark clouds gather and fill the sky. Don't know how to talk to you, just know how to say goodbye.
It's a simple thing. Choose to do the right thing. And at some point in your life, who you follow. Because see, we have this thing, even in the field of law enforcement, I tell you, the dominant personality. The dominant personality is the person that usually everyone will follow. And you might be the person that has that dominant personality. But reality is the dominant personality everyone will follow. They will follow them down a road of darkness unconditionally. Don't you know better? It's just like you get this little gut. You know, you get this little stomach gut. It's like, that's when you say, I don't want to do this today. Just turn around and walk away. Make an excuse. I'm feeling sick. Mom cooked these best brownies today, so since she cooked these brownies, I'm going home. Don't follow people down dark roads just because they're really cool. I'll tell you the one that everyone follows the most. The number one criminal in every school. Number one criminal in every school is the class clown. Class clown is the number one criminal in every school because they steal your time from learning. Because they spend time cracking jokes, distracting the classroom, making attention for themselves, and then everyone laughs and jokes with them. But meanwhile, the person to their left, their right, and back and in front of them are losing valuable time at learning. So don't follow the class clown. If you don't laugh at them, they stop becoming a class clown. All it takes is one other student to say real subtly, hey, I'm trying to learn today. Let's talk about heroin real quick. I'm going to show you this video. It's a video of how and where heroin came from. Pay attention. Because heroin is growing in rapid proportion.
It's not a new phenomenon. In fact, the drug has been around in some form for thousands of years. As early as 3400 BC, ancient Sumerians in Mesopotamia
If I told you that, now let's take that. I show heroin because this is one of the main reasons why I love it all up to that. I'm gonna say that repeatedly because I don't want anyone confused. And if somebody sit there saying, wow, if I use heroin and I shoot it in my arm and it goes straight to my brain, I'm gonna get a drastic high, then you are really delusional because what it does is it kills you. So straight to the point, it'll kill you. But how many people in here will walk to the edge of a bridge and just look at it and go, say the Brooklyn Bridge, it's one of the big ones, and think they can jump off it and fly? Is that normal? Anyone think that's normal behavior? Raise your hand. Okay, so all together, is that normal behavior? No. Again, all together? No. Is that normal behavior? No. I can't hear you. Is that normal behavior? No. If you start doing things like heroin makes you think you're invincible. It'll make you believe that you can take a hot cup of coffee, if you were paying attention, which I saw everyone was, and at the hottest point, drink it. What it does is it blocks what I call a real simple analogy. I could have came in here with all these key terms and analogies and big words and 10 syllables. It just basically blocks your common sense. It blocks your ability to do things that you normally would not do. Well, what it does on top of that, it basically hooks you forever. You have people that are basically just like you, probably a little older. You'll be there eventually.
My grandfather was dying of cancer, and he had just tubs of every pill you can imagine, but I didn't know what they were, and I started taking them and feeling the effects of reading the bottles and finding out what they were, and then selling them at school, and yeah, just got from there.
I was on 200 pounds by the time I was 17. I had gastric bypass, and then that's when everything started falling apart. They took my food addiction from me. I couldn't eat anymore, and so I had to find something else to fill that void. And they gave me a few bottles that had your code on. I could chug it. I wasn't in pain. I took it to get high.
My high school football team just caught a pass and it broke my middle finger. I got Vicodin and I just got Percocet. I was taking it like I was supposed to until someone asked if I was messed up on it, and I didn't know what that even meant.
The minute she walked in the house, she just sat on the couch and she started crying. My first thought is, oh my God, she's pregnant. And she told me she was doing OxyContin, and so my first thought was, what's that? She told me she smoked it, which then totally blew me away because I just couldn't envision her doing that. It just didn't fit.
See how fast it happened? The one young lady basically had an operation, they gave her pills. And I don't want anyone to raise their hands because I don't want anyone to get in trouble. I'm just going to say this. If someone invites you to a Skittles party, hey, why don't you come over to a Skittles party? We're having a Skittles party this evening. If you get there, by any chance so happen you by default end up there, and the packages on the table are not Skittles, do not consume. Who knows what a Skittle party is? Let me see. Tell me what it is. It's a drug party, okay? Drug made up what drugs? Okay, close. Anybody else? What you got?
Prescription pills.
Prescription pills is what a Skittles party is. That's not the party you want to be at. Now let's look at it. I know when I was growing up, we always had one place that we always hung out at. And unfortunately, when you hung out at that place, it was the place that your parents always told you, don't go to. My mom always said, hey, look, don't go there. And as a young adult, it was the only place to go. That's where all my friends went. So guess what? I went too. Now, there's a difference between going and then participating, and then knowing when to leave. I always revert back to my son because I figured it worked. And he tells me now that it's working. I always say to my son, if the party ends at 2 o'clock, leave at 1:30. Leave it a quarter up. If you did not get that girl's phone number by 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning, you're not getting it that night. Move on. Same thing, young ladies. If that guy didn't give you any attention by 2 o'clock or whatever the time the party ends, half an hour before, it ain't working that day. Leave. Because usually nothing good happens between that last half hour. Usually whoever's mad at each other gets in a fight, it gets real violent, and it just goes all crazy. Okay? So the mentality is, you're going to end up in these situations, but the choice is, if someone hands you something, why would you consume an laxative if you don't have to? Does everyone know what a laxative? Because y'all, at that age now, everyone probably had taken a laxative at one point. Skittle parties, they basically throw all these pills on the table. It could be heart medicine, it could be diabetes, cancer medicine, and they throw it on the table in a bowl, and everyone reaches in and takes one, consumes it, and sits there and see what happens to their body. Why? Don't do it. See, I know some of the adults are probably saying, you should be telling them, don't go to the party, period, don't go. But I already know that's unrealistic. You're going to go. Because guess what? They might. But see, they had enough leadership skills and discipline not to partake in drugs. You go to a party and they're smoking marijuana, understand something. If you show up at your parents' house and you went to the party and you did not touch, smoke, puff, handle any drug, or they were smoking it, your parents are going to flip out because you're going to bring it home on your clothes. Secondhand smoke with cigarettes, apply. Secondhand smoke with marijuana. That might not have any major health effects. I'm sure somehow it does. The bottom line is, if you don't want that pressure from your parents or to stress your parents out, you don't want to go to those type of parties. Okay? Or if you get there, leave. Call your parents. Trust me, the best phone call you could ever make is to a parent say, look, I'm 4 doors down, Mom. Dad, can you come get me? The next phone call you can make to your parents, which is the greatest phone call of all, is if you go away somewhere. This is just a sidebar. If you go away and you're away with some friends for the weekend, if you call your parents and they do not answer the phone, leave a message. Never call your parents and don't leave a message or follow up with a text. Because us as parents, we don't think that you just was calling and say, hi, we arrived. We start thinking everything but that happened. Oh man, they got in a car accident, somebody got hurt, somebody was on drugs, they ran out of money, car ran out of gas. That's all we think about. We don't think anything good until we finally hear your voice and we call you 3 more times and you don't answer. Don't do that to your parents. Leave a message or send them a text. Hey, Mom, okay. Dad, I'm fine. I just wanted to send you a quick text to let you know I was okay. You missed my phone call. I'll call you later. Don't do it to your parents. Because if you're about to have a real good time, they'll call you 40 times until they hear from you. That's the reason why. Any questions about that one? Just FYI. Any questions? How many people here actually seen drugs before? Chances are a lot of people that have seen drugs, seen it on TV, haven't seen it in real life. A lot of people that talk a lot about having participated in some type of drug activity, in most cases are just talking until they get put on the spot and then someone actually makes them participate in the drugs. And what I'm saying is this. Some people act real cool. Yeah, man, you know what? Oh, I got high yesterday. 9 out of 10 of them are lying. You know, some have a reputation of being drug users or whatever, but a lot of them are not telling the truth. So what you do not want to do is get caught up in somebody else's fantasy and then they convince you to do the drug while they stay drug free. It's another big okie doke that happens to a lot of people. Okay, let's talk about heroin real quick. See if I get this thing to click on it. It worked. What's happening with heroin is can come over from Afghanistan and a lot of areas. Heroin, like a lot of other drugs, are not manufactured in the United States. So if you seem to think because that house around the corner or up the street has drugs, that's where it came from. It did not. Drugs are readily transported and usually from major cities. Like for here, for example, there's probably a connection to the city of Syracuse. And I do not like to mean the city of Syracuse or Utica, because good friends of mine work there. But reality is that becomes the hub. Heroin is readily available, low cost, high purity, and new abusers. Here is the trick that you do not want to get caught up in. Someone's going to walk in and say one day, hey, will you try this? Or they'll wait for you to get on a low. And I'm going to tell you when they're going to get you young ladies. When you break up with your boyfriend, oh, I can't believe you broke up with me. It's the end of the world. I never have anyone to love me like that again. And I'm not picking on you ladies, but basically what happens, yes I am, I'm sorry. Because that's what happens. Bad boy, all the good girls want the bad boys. Your parents are like, no. Your parents say 1,000 times, no, 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 no. Chances are, they're probably right. You're going to do it anyway. But reality, you have to be careful. But what happens is when you get to that low, that's a lot of times emotionally is when people take advantage of people, especially drug dealers. Drug dealers is like a business. Like as long as you live, Nike, Michael Jordans have been out. Because they've been out as long as I've been around. Okay, and that's only 22 years. So, Jordan's been out for a long time. What I'm saying is, drug dealers know the same way they market Jordans, the same way they market drugs. They give you a sample pair at a low cost. And once you're hooked, then they give you another sample at a higher cost. So you might go to one of these Skittle parties or some other party, you might be emotionally down, and somebody says, hey, why don't you try this? And you go, no, to make me feel better. No, oh, come on, to make me feel better. Michelle's doing it. And then what you do is you take a hit of heroin. One hit of heroin is all it takes. Every drug out there, think of it just like this. It's one chance to ruin my life forever. Not, oh, I'll do it once, and that's it. When it comes to drugs like heroin, LSD, and meth, they're hard to shake. This is the hardest. It costs $10. How many people come up with $10 for the weekend? Raise your hand if you come up with $10 for the weekend. Okay, see, I'm falling asleep. Everybody stand up. Stand up. See, because I asked this question while you're standing up. And I asked you, when you ask the question, it'll expose you. If you cannot come up with $10 for the weekend, it's Friday now. Say next weekend. Sit down. If you cannot. So everyone here, you can't get $10 this weekend? Next weekend? You can't get bottles? Everyone can come up with $10. You can't come up with $10 by next week? Or was it a trick question? If you can get $10 by next weekend, sit down. Okay, I probably did a double negative, my bad. You can't? Let me show you a trick. You stand up. What's your name, big guy? Who? You like Star Wars? Me too. Shh, don't tell nobody. I told everybody. If you went out and you went through a couple of trash cans in Alexandria Bay, you see it's a nickel a bottle, right? So that's 10. If you spend all week, you don't think you come up with $10 worth of cans? Probably can. All right. Everyone can come up with $10. It's easy. And I know people go, I could take trash cans for nickels. If you have an addiction, you will dig through trash cans. If you really want to go to that party, you will clean the bathroom and the kitchen for your parents to get that $10. If you want to buy a new dress, new outfit, want to go to the movies, you'll shovel the snow for your parents until you get that $10. Problem is when you get hooked to heroin because it's so cheap, it costs maybe $10 a bag depending on where you're at. But once you take it once, it's $10 on Monday, maybe $10 on Tuesday. But when you hit Wednesday, Thursday, it goes that you now $10 don't do it anymore. You need $20. So on Wednesday, you need $20. You got to come up with, that's more trash cans you got to go through to get those bottles. Or that person who's addicted. It's a drug that keeps going. You cannot get the euphoric high that you get after the first use. Now, let me tell you what happens when you get high on heroin. When you take it for the first time, every user that we've ever interviewed basically says you throw up uncontrollably. How many people like to throw up? I mean, like, it's like, they say it's like shooting of a water. This is disgusting, but it's the truth. Sorry. You get this, the other guys get the toned down version. I'm giving you the truth because you guys are too close to going to college. You're too close to being independent driving around on your own. When you're independent driving around on your own, you put people in the car that do independent things. So you need to know exactly what happens when this hits. You put it in the system. If you shoot up, because the ultimate is shooting up, it goes from snorting, which is crushing up some type of pill. The advancement goes from prescription drugs. The next level is that doesn't get you high enough, then you slide into a controlled substance, which is usually heroin. When you slide into heroin, the next step is you usually snort it. Snorting doesn't work, then you heat it up and then you inhale it. Now, first of all, listen to this. Nothing is meant to go in your nose. It's nothing that I can think of unless it's a Vicks nasal thing because you have boogers running all over the place. Other than that, nothing is supposed to go in your nose. That's not what your nose is meant for. It's meant for breathing. Then after you go from that, you go and shoot it in the vein. I'll ask you to stand up, but I'm sure I'm covered on this one. Everyone raise your hand. Raise one hand. How many people like taking needles? Put your hand down if you don't. Yeah, look at that. You like needles? You are a special case. Because most people don't like needles. The next phase is taking needles. You're good. You can take the needles in your arm to heroin. No one likes taking needles. In order to get the ultimate high with heroin, you have to advance to doing needles. So understand, if you don't start with it, you'll never have to advance that fast. So it's $10 a day times 10 times 10 times 10. If you can't come up with your $20 or your $30, eventually at the end of the week it'll be a $120 habit. What you will do is you will start stealing. If you start stealing, you steal from people that are close to you because you don't want to go to the neighbor's house. High demand, over 64,000 treatment admissions. That number is low. It's probably tripled. I think that number was from 2001 when I looked at statistics. So if you take that number times by 3, I think that's where we're at now as far as a national statistic coming out of New Jersey and New York. When you see numbers like this, basically what it's telling you is that many people are getting hooked to it. These drugs are not manufactured in New York State. They come from overseas. Anyone realize which is the #1 place of importing heroin? What's the number one importer? Yeah. Think about it. Iraq, close. Afghanistan. #1 importer. So reality is some other country is sending their deadly drug over here to you. Don't get caught up with it. New York City's on there only because New York City becomes the hub, is the biggest city. They say it's the hub, but that's where a lot of drugs ultimately end up, and then they get distributed out of these places. Heroin can be in a variety of colors: white, brown, black tar. All this is just basically stuff that you don't want anyone to trick you with. Here, this one here is not necessarily for you because I hope everyone here does not do drugs. I'm showing you these packagings, not to highlight them, but to know when it's time to run. You see someone running around with paper bindles, they're just folded pieces of paper with powders in it. You see it, it's time to tell. If it's nothing, so be it. Glassine envelopes, Ziploc baggies with corners teared off, balloons with foreign substances in it, it's basically time to run. And you know what? It's amazing to me how when you want to make an excuse to get out of something, you will. Like, you make a whole bunch of excuses to your teachers. Your teachers probably have the #1 excuses. I mean, teachers probably get the best excuses in the world. Teach, look, I didn't get that homework here today because I was snowboarding and I just didn't do it. No one says that. Teach, I was snowboarding, I fell, and I hurt my ankle, so I was in the hospital all day, and I really couldn't get that homework done. Where's your doctor's note? The same excuses that you get creative with and tell your teachers why you don't do your assignments and do your homework, or the same excuses will work with your friends if they put you in a situation like this. So decks, bundles, baggage, not really important, but if somebody says, yeah, I'm going to get a deck, basically what they're doing is they're going to get heroin. 10 bags of heroin. A deck, bad word. If it's not a deck of cards that you get ready to play Uno with, or some game with, it's time to go. They say a bundle. If bundles of bags, bundles are basically it's 50 bags of heroin. Someone say they're going to get a bundle, you don't want to be at that party. Snorting, smoking, we talked about it. Ultimate progression goes to needles. That's what a needle looks like. Tattoos. How many people here got tattoos? How many people here want to get tattoos? Number one way to hide track marks is in tattoos. We tell you this, tattoos is your personal choice. I will tell you this, a tattoo on your neck, man, look, I'm sorry. Forgive me. I'm saying bad word. It's dumb. Why would you have a tattoo with your name on your neck? You'll forget it. If you come across a young lady or a guy and they want to know your name, tell them your name. Why you get a tattoo? You do not know where you're going to be in 10 years. It is not cool to have tattoos on your neck. It's not cool for those who are going to get them. And I know someone in here is going to get a tattoo. You know there's a difference between a tattoo on your neck and you know that little cute one the girls get behind their ear when they cover their ears, you know. I'm not endorsing them, but there's a difference between that and one going across your neck. I know I'm upset at somebody today. I can't believe you're here talking about that. Tattoos on your wrist. Why? You gonna forget your name? So the dude come up to you and he say, hey, how you doing? You go, it's my name right there. Huh? Hey, here's my name. Really? Let me tell you another reason why that's very important, and I'm sidebarring right here because you guys are at that age. The New York State Police, we pay new troopers close to $65,000 a year in the academy while they're training. When they graduate from that 6 months of training, they automatically go somewhere from $65,000 to $75,000 to $80,000 a year. Period. They don't have to do anything else but graduate. The average trooper in the first year or the first 5 years will be well over $100,000 a year in salary. That's a lot more than $10 an hour, I can assure you that. If you do something crazy like get a tattoo on your arm, you're automatically disqualified. You have to get the tattoo removed. So as your young age, if you do not know exactly where you're going to be in 5 years, if you're not guaranteed to take over mom and dad's company and be a multi-millionaire or run it yourself, be very mindful of what you do to your body. Ladies, it's nothing like having on a real gorgeous dress and you have some crazy tattoo on your shoulder. Now again, some people think that, you know, I guess I'm being old. Because us old folk, that's some of how we think. I'm not being judgmental about tattoos. All I'm telling you is if you want a job in the future, you got to be mindful of what people will accept, what they will not accept. That's all that is. Other than that, hey, if you want to walk around and go to people and go, hey, here's my name. Do what you want to do. I hope I didn't upset anybody. Guess I did. Smoker, shooter, sale. Let's see how we slide into the sale of drugs. No, withdrawal. Excuse me. All these are usually in the PowerPoint normally. Unfortunately, either my presentation or the screen is not like it right now.
He's still these little marks right here in my hand. I mean, you
Got it
can't
out
see
of me?
any veins.
See, no
My
kidding.
arms are hands, see.
What this is going to be a guy who goes to great lengths of trying to hide his track marks. And what I mean by hiding his track marks is, if you are proud of what you're doing, pay attention, if you're proud of what you're doing, like when you graduate from high school, it's going to be your parents' proudest moment. It's going to be your happy moment too. It's going to be like, I'm out of here. because it's going to be a proud moment. You don't graduate, walk the stage, and then go and hide. You walk the stage and you stand up there real proud that you walked the stage, because it's a proud moment for you and your family. If you're a drug drug user, there's nothing proud about shooting up drugs. So guess what they do? They hide it. You start that? They hide it. And if you're going to be a hider, this is what's going to happen.
You see all these little marks right here in my hand? I mean, you can't see any veins in my arms or hands. See, these marks, all these right here, these are all old. All these ones are all new. All the way up here, this leg, down this leg here, all over the legs, everything. Those are the new ones. It's a pretty bad addiction. I don't even get high anymore. I just do it so I can feel normal. I'm starting to get withdrawals and it's starting to take effect now since I haven't used in almost 12 hours. You start getting cold, hot. You start sneezing a lot, nose starts running, vomiting, you can't get comfortable. Imagine being physically sick with the flu, just where you don't want to move. Your bones ache, your body aches, your stomach hurts. You just feel like throwing up, you just drained of everything physically. And that's what I'm going to start going through. I'm scared, let's be honest.
Okay, question. When was the last time you used it? 12 hours ago. So that's less than 24 hours. And he's going through withdrawal. That basically is going to have flu-like symptoms, curled up in a ball, shivering, shaking uncontrollably, feeling like his bones are about to break. And he's only been off the drug for 12 hours. The thing with heroin is you have to have it over and over again. You don't get a timeout. There's no such thing as timeout with heroin. So that means when you say, oh, I'll take it on Monday, and then maybe I'll take it again on Friday. It doesn't work that way. If you're not proud of what you're doing, if you're proud of what you're doing, you don't hide it. You think he took great lengths to hide it? He had needles in these arms, in here, in his feet, behind his calves. Bad drug. Questions? Any questions? Go ahead.
Let's say that somebody started using heroin at age
16, okay.
How much of their life would that take away after using it until they're like 30? What percent of their life would that take away?
Well, I don't know what percent of their life it would take away. That's a great question. This question is, if somebody started using a drug such as heroin at the age of 16, what percentage of their life would it take away? Well, it sounds like what he's saying is, if I'm a healthy 16-year-old, and I've been using heroin for 14 years, 16 plus 14 is 30, it's going to take a bodily toll on your body daily. You'll lose weight, you'll lose brain functions because it causes brain damage. So it can have a dramatic effect. Now, it affects each person differently. So let's just say, they can end up living for 30 more years, 60 to 70 more years. Or one day, and I don't mean to be straight to the point, or one day they can take one hit and not wake up. One time. So they could have did it from 16 to 30, and then just have a one bad day, and that'll be it. An overdose on heroin, basically what you're looking for is someone who's going to be sitting there. A heroin junkie is not going to shoot up standing up. They're not going to stand up and take a needle because when it hits them, it gives them this euphoric feeling, and they're just like, oh man, this is unbelievable. And if they tilt over, they can fall and hurt themselves. Most of the time, all the time, they're going to be sitting down, balled up in a corner. Time to run. If you walk into a bathroom stall, or you walk into a bathroom, and you see a guy sitting on the corner, just sitting there with a needle out of his arm, is not, at your age, is not the time to play Good Samaritan. Find an adult and say, there's a guy on the bathroom floor, I think he needs help. Your natural urge is to go and help the person. Now, some of you are a little bigger than, the average size, but a person on heroin, once they come out of it, they are uncontrollable. You do not want to be dealing with that on your own. Okay, now, let me rewind a little bit. That's to a stranger. Get help. If for some unfortunate situation you find yourself in a mode in which you're running up against a friend who has used a controlled substance or a drug, do not run and leave them because you don't want your parents to find out that, I was with them when they were doing drugs. I went with them while they were doing drugs. Do not run and leave that person. It is better for you to call 911 and tell exactly what happened and make sure you save their lives than to deal with the consequences of them passing away. Okay? Same thing with alcohol. Probably most easiest thing to get sometimes. It's probably harder to get alcohol than it is to get, it's probably easier to get heroin in some cases to get alcohol. With alcohol, you have to give ID. Understand this too, for those who want to try it. Hold that for me. What I just did is a drug sale. If these were drugs, and I said to her, hey, here you go. Take that. Okay, I hope it works out for you. Let me know. And I leave. That is, in the state of New York, a drug sale. She doesn't have to give me any money. She doesn't have to give me a new book in exchange. You can get charged with criminal sale of controlled substance just by handing it to a person. So if you come and you think it's cute to bring the pills to school and start handing them out, in the state of New York, you hand out 3 oxycodones, that's a class A felony, A1 felony, I believe. Yep, A1 felony, it's one of the big felonies. You can go to jail up to 10 to 25 years. Now, does it happen? I'm going to be honest with you. No. You probably won't get 10 to 25 years, but you end up with 5 years. 5 years on probation is not fun. 5 years on probation basically control your lives. You basically answer to somebody at every beck and call.
Like 6 to 7 a day. They was getting so expensive.
I'm going to tell you about how the guy transitions into sale. But if you end up on probation, all these things have to do with drugs. We talked about heroin. Heroin is the worst, most addictive drug there is. Marijuana is the gateway drug. It's the drug everyone starts out by trying. Prescription drugs are the drugs in which everyone tries to use or they use at skittle parties. They use prescription drugs because you go in mom and dad's cabinet and take them out. Well, after Wednesday night, that's not going to happen anymore because I think there's a lot of parents that will be locking their stuff up. So that's where you used to go, we beat you to it, they'll be locking their stuff up this week. Okay? So, or you go to grandma's house. There was one lady here said she had a whole lot of pills in her house and she wanted nothing more than to get rid of them as fast as she could after Wednesday night. Well, let me tell you what happened. So, people tend to go over to their family member's house and get the pills. This young man, he described how he had over 400 pills at his beck and call. This is how you slip into from being a casual user to a big-time user to slide into becoming a drug dealer, and you just think it's cute. And becoming a drug dealer is not cute. It's also a life sentence.
Like 6 to 7 a day.
Watch the math. He'll show you the mathematics on the board.
I can sell these for like $50 and go buy a gram. A gram of heroin is the price of 1 pill. And a gram of heroin could last you 3 or 4 days. 1 pill could last you a couple hours. So the calculation was simple, just sell the pills that you get, make money, and get free dope. Whatever you do.
He says sell the pills and get free dope. No. At some point, we're coming to get you. What I do in my primary job, I'm a little older, so I don't do it as much. I used to work undercover. And as an undercover, what I would do is I would pose as a guy, as a guy, I was going to say girl. We had guys and girls that would pose as drug users, and we go out and buy the drugs. We would come to schools. The district allowed us in, and we had somebody that looked young enough to go out to the parking lots where we know kids sell drugs, and we would buy drugs. The way my unit works is, just to add a little more fair to you, is we have like 25 to 30 police officers, some of them that look very young, and we go out and we buy drugs in a community like Alexandria Bay. And then what we'll do is we'll turn it over to the local police department or the state police in that area, and you never know what happens. Because see, everyone up here seems to think, oh, I know all the police officers up here, I grew up here all my life, I know all of them. Then what happens is we bring 10 guys in you don't know, and then you get caught selling mom or dad or grandma pills, and then you're in big trouble. Probation real quick, you know, and like I said, anything that restricts your life is basically bad. Probation, if you've never heard it, was, oh, he's on probation, he's got to be home by 9 o'clock. He's got to be home by 9 o'clock, he's got to go to appointments, he's got to go to classes, he's got to go to counseling. In some cases, in most cases, you have to be drug tested. You lose your rights. You lose your right to no search, which means if you like to have funny things in your bedroom, if the probation officer shows up, they can search your bedroom without any questions being asked. You get handcuffed immediately. So if a probation detail comes in, they say we're doing a probation house check. They walk in, they put you in handcuffs, they sit you in a corner somewhere, and then they go through your personal belongings. I know it's not jail, it cannot compare, but look, why would you want to give any one of your restrictions because you want to use drugs or make a mistake? The other worst thing to do is if you do some type of drugs or you're possessing of drugs to go on high-speed chase with police officers that basically end up with someone getting seriously hurt. That is a really dumb move also. Don't do drugs. Questions? I know someone's got a question. We've got about 15 more minutes. Go ahead.
How long does it take for a person to stop doing drugs?
It takes a long time. It takes a lot of willpower to stop doing drugs, especially a drug like heroin or any drug. You know, taking drugs is a choice. You make a conscious choice to take a drug. You make a conscious choice to do your homework on time. You make a conscious choice to be an excellent student. I had to be a police officer with 4 college degrees. I don't know why. My mother or parents always preached education. And then when my son came, I figured I wanted to make sure he had a plateau that he had to reach. So I got a couple of degrees. It's the same thing here. When you talk about how long it takes to get over it, it may take a long time, but it can be done. The trick is, don't do it, so you have to get over it. Does everyone? Yes, ma'am.
What methods do you see that are working for what I think you call it like a casual user? Like, use heroin as a problem where we the
Okay.
you're talking a lot of things about prevention. What about kids who are already, experimenting with heroin? What methods do you see working to nip it at that level?
How I see you could, the question is, how do you get somebody who's on heroin, off of heroin, or to stop? A good friend.
At the level where it's just,
It's starting. It's people are dibbling it out, and that's why the school district has it. And they'll have more people here. I like to always go really to a simple old school analogy. A good friend will throw the rope. If you're really a good friend, if your friend is dibbling it, and now some friends are very good at hiding it from you. It'll be a surprise. But you know when your friends start acting different. Let me show you this model. You know when your friends start doing things different. You know when they start changing their clothes. They go from wearing, pretty fingernails and colors, and then all of a sudden they start wearing things different, but they don't have time to go get their fingernails done because they're doing other things. You know when a friend goes into the bathroom all the time, and usually the use of heroin means they have to have some private time. They go in the bathroom, and they're in your bathroom for an absorbent amount of time. They stay there longer than they normally would. You know when that person starts acting strange and moving into different categories with different people that they...
She changed her shirt in front of me, and all I could see were her ribs. She's already a tiny size 0 girl to begin with.
Let's start that over again. So you know. So what I would say is the best antidote here is, one, the school district is already getting ahead of it for you. The police agencies are getting ahead of it for you because my agency sent me here with no problem. When we had a community forum on Wednesday, you you had 4 different police departments represented here, just to be here to show how important it was for them to be here and participate in the forum. You have a forum today, and the school has a forum. But the best way to do it is you fellow students, stop playing games with your fellow students' lives. Tell them. Tell. If you do not want to lose that friend, tell. You don't have to go in and write, whoa, using drugs. No. All you gotta do is write a note. And you know what? We prefer, let me go back away from that note. I'm not gonna say write a note. Find a teacher that you trust. And everyone has a teacher you trust. Pull them to the side and tell them that you believe your friend has a problem. And let them go from there. Now look, if you're going to start pulling false alarms because you just got mad at them that day or they didn't dress the same way you did, then you're wasting the time of the administration. For good friends, look their friends in the face and say, I'm throwing you a rope. I'm not going to let you go down this road, and that's it. And if you stop talking to me, guess what? I'm going to start telling you even more. Because you need to save their life. Wednesday night, I left there, went on the road back to Syracuse. From my understanding, just that he told me that one of the students that graduated from here overdosed probably during the lecture time. Right when we was having a lecture, they were using heroin. Until, from what I understand, is that student is not, or that former student is not out of the water. How that could have been prevented, the best way to answer the question is, you students are now moving into adulthood. You have to tell. You do not want to end up like this
I
lady.
went to her apartment. She changed her shirt in front of me, and all I could see were her ribs. She's already a tiny size 0 girl to begin with. It made me sick to my stomach. I had to leave the room. When she came out of the room, I'm like, what's wrong? Something's wrong with you. And she's like, why do you say that? I go, because your ribs. You're not that skinny. I go, you're sick and something's wrong, and we need to figure out why you're losing this weight. Or there's something else going wrong that you're not telling me about. By then, she had advanced to methamphetamine, and she was smoking meth. And she was dating a guy that introduced her to that.
Bad guy.
So it was all meth after the oxy. She went to rehab, and then after the rehab, when she relapsed with the heroin. And that's what ultimately killed her.
She lost her life. Her progression was oxycodone. Oxycodone is, if you know, oxycodone is a big word, but bottom line is a painkiller. Simple. It's a painkiller that is basically has a controlled substance, a narcotic in it. Okay? That painkiller, you're playing football or basketball, you see one of your friends that get hurt, I assure you, the drug that they're going to give them is going to be a painkiller that has a narcotic substance in it. My son had a tooth surgery. They gave him like 80 pills. We had this talk. I said, son, whoo, you're going to be in a little bit of pain. Because we're going to regulate these. And if your parents do the same thing regulated, it'll help you. But these young adults get hooked, or this young lady got hooked on oxy. She went from oxy, her path was oxycodone, painkiller, to meth. Let's talk about meth real quick. Meth can be manufactured in a 2-liter bottle. Now, I'm not going to tell you the steps of manufacturing meth, because you don't need to know that. What you do need to know is if you see a bottle and it has multiple layers and colors, bottom line, and not to be disrespectful to anyone, if it looks like urine in a bottle, has little pellets on the bottom, do not touch it. It is a bomb. Let me do it again. 2-liter bottles, they also have it down to the point where you can do it in a 20-ounce bottle. If it looks like yellow, urine, with separation, has pellets on the bottom, if you do not know what's in that bottle, do not touch it, and please don't shake it. It is a bomb. I say it's a bomb, even though it's a portable meth lab, because of the chemical reaction inside that bottle, the lithium-ion strips, which is basically batteries, mixed with the fuel, mixed with the other substances, it'll make that bottle expand. If you shake it, it'll start the chemical reaction, and it starts swirling around like a little thunderstorm inside of the bottle. If you introduce air into it, it goes faster. So, The reason why I'm telling you this is because we're up here, Alexandria Bay, where you have a lot of outdoor activities in the summertime. The best way to manufacture meth, especially portable meth labs, are outside, in the parks. And you're running around and you see something you think is cute, or you think that, I'm going to help clean up. Please be mindful of what you put in your hand. That is a bomb. Any questions about a meth lab? Now, I showed you the pictures of the people. I'll get you 1 second. I showed you the pictures when you first walk in, all the faces. Meth, what it does is, meth eats your teeth away. Because it's made of things like dye and Coleman fuel. How many people will drink Coleman fuel? How many people will take a battery, interior of a battery? Now, if you took a 9-volt battery and stuck it to your tongue, it'll give you a shot. I know someone's going to try it, but it won't kill you, but it'll give you a big shot. Think about taking it apart and eating it. Anybody? Anyone volunteer to eat a battery? Anyone volunteer to drink red dye, lye, Coleman fuel? Well, that's what meth is. If you use meth, you might as well just go to the store, get some Coleman fuel, a couple of batteries, put them on a plate, stir them up a little bit, and drink them. It's not a good thing, but that's what methamphetamine is. Add a little bit of Sudafed pills. What was your question, sir? Great question. He said, does meth come in as a pill, or is it like a liquid or powder? Basically, the final product of meth is a powder substance. Usually some type of white, powdery substance. Depending on how good the cook was, it will have no color or some discoloration. What I mean by that, it'll have like a little red tint to it or a blue tint to it. And basically what it is, it's basically the Sudafed pills they're purchasing from stores. They're basically getting the controlled substance out of the pills through a chemical reaction. Questions? You got a couple of minutes. How many people drive? How many people speed? Tell the truth, speeding. Speeding and texting is a bad thing. It's a dangerous, dangerous, dangerous way of life. Be careful. Speeding is bad, period. But speeding and texting, speeding and talking to your cell phone is really bad. I talk about drugs in a big way, but look, a motor vehicle can kill a person also. Yes, ma'am. Great question. I think the way I was explaining it for us going the road is to tell the police or trying to harm the person beyond what you want to do. What I'm really saying is I want you to notify a counselor, someone that can get them help. And most parents will be that catalyst for us getting them help. The truth of the matter is parents know. They know. If you're using drugs, you can hide it from but so long. But at some point, your parent knows. They understand that there's something wrong. They understand that something is not right. In many cases, they might just need a little boost to reassure that their gut feeling is right. So, other than some type of criminal action, is what she's saying. I'm not telling you to go to the police and rat a person out. That's not what I'm saying by rat. What I'm saying is a friend and trying to give them a lifeline, what you want to do is you basically want to say, hey, you go to someone that you trust, that's the reason why I say a teacher, and basically with that teacher, see that teacher through their means or resources is able to get that student some help. Answer your question? So no, I'm not telling you to throw them in jail. Yes, ma'am.
Will you take a minute to talk about the highways, what you talked about the other night, the throughways and the rest stops?
Oh, very important. A lot of you may be tasked with taking your younger brother or sister to the bathroom. What I mean by taking to the bathroom, okay, you're going to the rest area, the throughway, you just go, hey, go to the bathroom, I'll wait for you out here. Stop doing that. Heroin addicts Heroin addicts are either going to shoot up in their car or they're going to go into a restroom. Most of the time, ones like Dunkin' Donuts or Burger Kings that have single stalls. And what they'll do is they'll go in, they'll shoot up, they'll get their high real quick because they can lock the door and be in the comforts of the bathroom. And then what they'll do is leave the stuff behind. The reason why, if you're on the thruway nowadays, you will see every thruway station has what you call a dispenser for needles. It's for that reason, in hopes that these people will throw their needles away. You don't want your younger brothers and sisters, or even yourselves, to go into these bathrooms and start touching these items. Because young kids are inquisitive. Hey, look what I found. And you don't want that to be the tip of a needle. Because that's another way somebody can accidentally get hooked on drugs. Questions? Yes, ma'am. Drugs is a powerful thing. Drugs will separate all families, can separate families. What happened is that, unfortunately, too late for your family, the Drug Administration basically regulated how many pills doctors would give you. At one point, you have a broken toe or a toenail, and you go in and the doctor gives you 120 pills. What are you going to do with 120 pills? That's just so you can have to come back and get a second prescription. It's since been regulated. Okay, but she's right. Drugs will destroy a family. If you do not help your younger or older sibling when you have a chance, and you younger siblings, always know what the older siblings do. Because you snoop around. You go in their stuff, you check their phones, you check their voicemails, you check their computers, their text messages. That's what younger brothers and sisters do. They check everything. So you know. Please, if you want to keep sanity as best possible in your house, you have to tell your parents what's going on. And they don't tell them. Just give them a little hint. Man, did you see that funny thing that John had in his bag? Oh, you know what? This is John's bag. Oops, it fell on the floor. What's that, Mom? Find a way. And I know older brothers and sisters are saying, if they do that to me, I'm going to beat them. They're used to you beating them up anyway. You're not going to beat them up any worse than you did the last time. So, tell. Questions? I know someone's got a question out there. Anyone? Yes, ma'am? Every community, you have to do something. And I always go back to what I tell my son. You see, when I did the lecture with the parents, I told them, I'm not coming as a police officer. I come here, I taught at Oswego State as an educator. I come because I'm a parent. I've coached sports. I have a lot of young kids right now that are in that 21-year-old range that I've been actively involved in their lives, whether it's in sports, football, basketball, teaching, coaching, in some way or another. I know if I could get this whole auditorium to be heroin or drug-free, it's less chances that you get one of my kids, that I call my kid, involved in drugs. So that's why I go to the auditorium. I'll do these lectures, I'll go places and do them for money. But if you ask me to come for free, I'll come for free. So reality is if everyone bands together and throws their rope and pull that friend in, we'll save a lot of lives. And you'll save lives here. But if everyone says, it's not my responsibility. Your friend is on drugs, they need a rope. And it's your responsibility as a friend. If you're a good friend, throw the rope. How many people here are going to throw the rope for now? Raise your hand. Throw the rope. Don't be scared. And if it's your best friend next to you, tell your friend, look him in the face and say, I'm not going to let you drown. Tell your friends, I'm not going to let you drown. I'm going to throw you that rope. So don't even go there. Thank you. You're welcome.
If I could just have your attention for just one more minute. Because of the question that Garrett asked, and the follow-up question that someone here, I couldn't see who it was, I had no intention of doing this. Garrett, you asked the question, if you start drugs at 14 and you drug till you're 30, what happens? I never to do this publicly. My oldest brother started drugging at 14. He died at 29, 7 weeks before my wedding. Started smoking pot at 14, went to hash, went to LSD, went to heroin. My whole life, I grew up in a house with a drug addict. He stole everything I had. He stole from my parents. He stole from my grandparents. So when you ask, how did he die at 29?